Okay, got an interesting Hot Wheels for you today. A Honda Z50. Now, this is the softtail model. The hardtail model would not have rear shocks. So this one has rear shocks, which makes it a softtail model, which makes it at least a 1972 model. I think the 73 had the gold tank, so this is probably a 73 if I had to guess. Buddy of mine had the 73 with the gold tank. Starting from the left side, we see that there's a luggage rack on the back of this bike. Never seen a luggage rack on a Z50. Not sure what kind of luggage you put on there. Maybe your grade school lunch box. Not quite certain. And if you look close, there's also a turn signal underneath that luggage carrier. Never seen a Z50 with turn signals. If you look underneath the handlebars, you can also see a turn signal up there at the top of the forks. Very interesting take on this Z50. This Z50 is not configured like the Z50s in America were delivered. Not sure were these Z50 delivered in Thailand, for example, with turn signals on them. I just don't know. But somewhere, somehow, somebody got the idea that Z50s needed luggage carriers and turn signals. Not from an American bike. The bike you see here has the metal fenders, which are correct. It has, like I said, the soft tail, the shocks on it. It has right there between the shock and the Kickstarter. Yes, there's a Kickstarter there. You can see it. Between the shocks and the Kickstarter, there's a bit of Zamek that really shouldn't be there. That should be an open area. I'm sure Hot Wheels had a hard time modeling that, so they just put a solid Zamek area in there. The muffler is absolutely perfect. They nailed it. The engine, it is correct. As I said, it's got a Kickstarter. You got your clutch cover there. You've got your foot peg. You got your brake pedal. Everything's really nicely done there. You got your exhaust coming out of the head there. The head has the fins on it for cooling. Now, above the head, there's another solid area Zamek that should not be there. And that goes all the way to the fender, front fender, and the forks. The front forks on this bike, they are missing the little rubber seals there, okay? Or rather the rubber, well, I guess it would be seals. The rubber cushion, basically, okay, that's flexible. The wheels are not Z50 wheels. I'm sure that they took some wheels from another bike. Headlight, a bit exaggerated, a bit large. It's almost as like this bike is a bit of a tuned version of the bike. It's not. It's very proportional other than that big headlight. That headlight is a little bit bigger than it really should be. The fender is correct. It's silver metal as it should be. I love the tank. The tank is a great color. Love the Honda logo in 3D. Got the little black shadow behind it. And then the Honda wing. Love the Honda wing. You got your handlebars in black, which they really should have been done in Zamek. I'm not sure why they weren't done in Zamek, but the handlebars are generally done in metal on these bikes. Seat looks good. Got good cushioning. The actual seats do not have the little ducktail lip at the rear there. They are more basically just straight off the end of the bike. Looking in the front of this bike, you can once again see that big headlight. It would have been nice if they put some little grooves in there for the lens, to show off the lens, but they didn't. What's really interesting that they're showing is the width of that wheel. Look at the size of that tire on that thing. It is really fat and wide, which means this bike, this model does not need a kickstand to stand up on its own. It will stand up on its own. And in fact, it will roll down a track. Now, it's going to fall over for sure if you roll it very far down the track. But it will roll down a track on its own. I've already tried it. The handlebars, once again, in black. Got the black hand grips. Very well done on the hand grips. Not expecting that, but that's actually very realistic on those hand grips. You can see the blinker signal, blinker lights, turn signals, whatever you call them in your area of the world. Another thing that's very interesting, and I'm sure it's due to the wide tires, is how wide this bike is. Proportionally, it is way wider than the actual bike would be, which gives it almost a Harley look from the front. Swinging around to the left side of the bike, you can see a couple of items. Honda tank. This actually is missing a piece of the gold paint. It's flecked off, or I don't know it. This bike is straight out of the package, so there's no modifications. There's been no playing with it or anything, and it's got a fleck in the paint, which is kind of understandable. But what's really interesting is underneath that yellow gold paint is Zamek. You can see that fleck is in Zamek. Very, very interesting. You can see the cap on top of the tank. Going down to the engine, you can see the carburetor. You can see the air intake going into the carburetor. You can see the manifold intake there. But what's odd is that they didn't put the cooling fins on the engine, on the head of the engine there. Now, once again, is that a different bike that was perhaps sold in Australia? Because the bikes in America had cooling fins on the head. Coming on down, you can see the flywheel. You've got your chain, sprocket cover. You can see the gear shift lever. You can see the foot peg. And I'm not sure, but that might be some inkling of a kickstand on there. Now, there's no kickstand that extends, but did they actually model and put a kickstand on there? Now, there's one thing here that I don't understand. I'm not quite sure where this comes from. And if I try to Google it and figure it out, it might take me a week to figure this out, because I'm sure there's a billion photos of Z50s out there. That oval right underneath the seat, that's normally more triangular shape. The cover. Now, that normally on motorcycles would be, a lot of times they put the battery there, a battery cover, or a location for a toolbox. And in fact, the Z50 that I own, there was a screwdriver and a spark plug wrench there. So I don't know what that oval represents. It doesn't have Honda on it or anything along those lines. Going back to the carburetor and the intake manifold, you can see that there's a lot of Zamek there. Got the chain guard, goes all the way past the rear suspension. You see the chain is modeled. You've got the turn signal there and the luggage rack. And of course, you've got the metal fender, which is correct. The rear of the bike is a little more interesting than you might think. That big fat tire back there again. It almost looks like it's offset to the right. I believe it is offset to the right, which means they probably had to put more Zamek on the right side to keep it from laying over on its left side. Now, you'll also notice on the fender, there is a crease that goes through the fender. It's not a crease, actually. It's a split. The best I can tell, there are two pieces of Zamek probably riveted together somewhere, some way, that comprise a left side Zamek of this bike and a right side Zamek of this bike. I don't think I've ever seen that in Hot Wheels before, where they had a left side of a model and a right side of a model. Now you can see the tail light. Once again, you see the cargo carrier. You can see the turn signals. I don't really see a place for a license plate. Given these bikes would maybe, at their absolute best, do 25 mile an hour, whatever location this bike was modeled off of, whether it be, like I said, Thailand, Cambodia, Japan, perhaps on a mini bike that'll only do 25 mile an hour, you don't need registration. You can see the suspension done very well there. Top-down view of the bike is really revealing as well. This bike has a lot of little intricacies. First of all, let's start at the handlebars. It has both a clutch and a brake handle. A clutch probably on the left and a brake on the right. The bike I own only has a right-hand handle for a brake, but there's only one handle in its brake because the clutch is automatic, basically. You can just shift through the gears without clutching this bike. 3-speed bike is what it is. The tank, that really looks like a Harley tank. It's really fat and wide. I love it. See the gas cap up there? The gas cap almost looks like it's even got the on-off switch on the gas cap, which is really cool. Once again, you can see how wide this bike is. Really, really wide. And then got a wide seat on it, which is way wider than the real bike seat is. And then the cargo carrier, the luggage rack, the lunchbox carrier, whatever you want to call it. In this particular instance, it's shaped a lot like a 911 Carrera from like 1985. Very interesting bike. Even the bottom of this bike is an oddball. from the bottom, you can see the two pieces of Zamek, which are, I don't know, is that rivet that you see there? Is that holding those two pieces of Zamek together? Perhaps it is. I don't know. I'm not going to take this bike apart. I really like it. I like it too much to be taking it apart. And then you can see the J27 on there, the DHPT6, I believe that is, and copyright Mattel. They didn't have a lot of room to put anything on there, did they? And then you can see, a little bit of the chain there. You can see the bottom of the engine a little bit. You can see the front forks, rear forks, the suspension axle, and the two handlebars with the brake and the clutch. Overall, really great model from Hot Wheels. Really love it. It's far more complex than I would have ever imagined when I just had it sitting around in the package for years. Now that I've opened it, I'm actually glad I opened it. It's a very impressive model by Hot Wheels, overlooked by a lot of collectors. Hope you enjoyed the review. Have a great day. Please like and subscribe if you have a moment.